At what point of proof do we go to the market, or do we go to the market at all?
You mean to raise some cap?
Yeah,
I think
because
the plan. Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. Like the plan to raise, I think, is around stocks, and I think that it's best if it's around NFTs, like NFT'd stocks, and then the crypto acts as the payment rail, so we don't have to dick around with banking and all that, and it sort of forces a transparency out of the process, like whereas it's very easy to be hidden and sneaky and secretive when you've got a bank account because that's what they're made to do. But
yeah,
when it's on-chain funds and it's bonded to escrowed against NFTs and all that, you're at the very least, even if we go bust, the NFTs still remain, and that's probably an important thing. It's like there will at least be a
someone
smoking
can
crater where we were.
yeah, and even if we switch off because it's decentralized, the data is not going to disappear.
No, that's right. That's right. And so that's why I think that yeah, um getting onto these decentralized chains and linking up to them early is probably the main way of doing funding. And then we should take in the funding based on stocks. And then once we've demonstrated that the stuck loop works with a little bit of funding, maybe we can raise a conventional company whose purpose is to buy and trade stocks.
Hmm.
But that's later down the line. I think
Yeah,
we can get enough proof and enough accelerant out of paid work by utilizing the stuck loop. And if that doesn't work, then we're like, okay, this thing's a bust. But if it does work, then we're like, oh, now we need to really ramp it. So we're gonna raise a bunch of cash that's gonna just amp up all the stocks,
yeah.
and
Well,
that's it. That's what
we
it's.
can on day one once we're ready. There's an increasing pile of stocks
Yeah, right. Okay, so
that
how
you've
would
already got.
you? Okay, so if we're in your account,
Yeah.
where would you expect to see your NFTs displayed?
I'd want to look at something called a wallet.
Where would the wallet be in this UI?
Um, Below the second line, given your semantics of top is like general, and then you get more specific, but then you got another line, and then when you're in settings, I'd kind of want to see it there, but that's just my view. But I'd want it separate from my account because the account is information about me. I'd want to see what I have.
Okay, so you're in the account. You don't want to see your balances there, keeping in mind that your balances may include Ethereum, DAI, USDT, a handful of other NFTs that you picked up, and all this other stuff.
Yep.
And we also want the ability to connect up to your Wise account, your bank account, your tax returns, your all that stuff. Where would those connections go? Are we talking
The
about,
account information, I'm just talking off the top of my head here.
yeah,
The account information about what I've wired up should be an account.
what you've
Um,
wired up? So in this
yeah.
screen, what do you mean what you've wired up? What does that mean?
So it would show, for example, a box with Wise accounts. It's
So
like
different
connect,
classes of account.
disconnect. Yeah.
But is
Um,
it is it so the question is, this account is about your identity
yeah.
on the Dreamcatcher platform. Your identity on the platform has very little to do with the money you have. And so it seemed to me that the management of assets was a separate NAP.
Um, yes. But
Can
okay,
I
just
can
let
I
me
give you one
find that.
idea that I had, and you can tell me, use it as a straw
Yeah.
man to kick off of?
Go for it.
I'd imagine that I'm in repos. Here's all my repos, and I make one that's called banking or a wallet. I make a repo called wallet. All right, I come in, wallet, cha-cha-cha. Okay, it's not an agent, it's a repository, which means it stores data, is accessed by multiple agents, it has some naps installed. Okay, I've got this wallet repo. I then go to look at its naps, and I install the explore. I search for the Ethereum wallet nap, and then I install that into the repo, which is probably over here. This interface is not working, not designed right, but the somehow you install a nap called the Ethereum wallet nap, right? And then when I'm actually looking at the naps and which ones are installed, somehow I can click on run for the Ethereum wallet nap, or like make the widget come up, because where I'm confused about is if we've got an unlimited number of naps with widgets, how do they get surfaced within this arrangement? And so having an installed nap, there might be a button that said open widget, which would flick the window open. The widget window would show with whatever thing was there. Plus, I think you should also be able to pin them to your home screen. Like today, here I've pinned the weather widget to the home screen. But if you get what I mean with my problem, it's that like, how do I call up all these naps that I've installed, and how do I interact with them? Because all this tooling is heavily geared towards repository management, but then there's also what each individual nap can do.
Right. Okay. So here's my start for 10.
Alrighty.
The wallet is a special thing in that that's where my cash is, or that's where my value is.
Why is that special as opposed to that's where my private customer data is, or that's where my last will and testament is?
Because
special.
this is an emotional thing, but you don't want to have to hunt and peck for a repo for your wallet. You want to have something.
Oh, you want it attached, like it comes pre-installed almost, like it's
Right,
it's part of the
right.
pre-set
So
things.
in that that previous screen that you showed, you know, the big chunky icons, and it would be again, I'm just riffing on this one.
Right.
It would be something like attach your Ethereum wallet, and you just hit that. Now, behind the scenes, it would still be a repo. It would still do all this stuff. It would have perhaps a preferred nap. If anyone
Okay,
wants
so I could then, what I could have to satisfy this is that when you first launch, there's the wallet repo that's all comes pre-created for you and is pre-installed with a range of naps that we have vetted, provided, supplied. One of them is the Ethereum wallet app and all that. And then you can then, from your home screen, you could pin one of the widgets here to show your current Ethereum balance, or you could navigate to the nap and then click it and go. You could add another shortcut. You could get to it any number of ways. You could chat to it and be like, hey, where my money at? And then up would come the Ethereum widget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely. And the reason I'm saying it should be something separate on the left hand side in terms of widgets um, is that when you're dealing with money, people get, really antsy about it.
Hmm.
And so you don't want to think, I could fuck up here. So you want as few steps as possible. You want the flow to be attach Ethereum wallet, click, put your details in, boom, and then behind the scenes,
Oh,
it's
that
exactly the
is
same.
actually dealt with. I understand your concern, but that I could fuck up here is already dealt with by the Ethereum ecosystem, and this is how it does it. The fact
Mm-hmm.
that when I connect a wallet, this independent MetaMask window pops up, and I can only really attach things externally. But also, when I go to make a payment, this window comes up, so you can't actually accidentally make a payment. Like all Web3 wallet users know this, that you can't make a payment without going through this trusted external window.
Yeah, that's fine. However, um, you're already logged in, and say I've got an Ethereum wallet, and I want to connect Wise. I want a separate place that feels absolutely solid. In that there's, by solid I mean as few clicks as possible. And if it comes up with a modal that goes off to somewhere else, it's actually quite reassuring. Um, but then it connects it, uh, and then it can display in your home.
Right. So what would
Maybe
it display in home? Like your current balance? Like I sit here and
current balance, yeah. Maybe conjoined, you know, if you got this Ethereum, you've got this USD, but somewhere that you can view that. Um, but I don't think going through and creating a repo in order to create a wallet is good because it doesn't feel solid because you think you could fuck up. And there's too many
hang on.
clicks.
Okay, so you want it um you want it set up as part of your, it's included in your actor repo, like it's baked in and you
Is
can't
Yeah,
fuck with it. That's
yeah,
what you
you
want?
can't. Yeah, you can't fuck up.
Okay, so that
That's
means that it could show up under this account page. We could make another icon for it here, but I'd probably prefer to.
inside of account would be all right. Could
Yeah,
be so you've got account and then you've
right,
got attached accounts,
right.
like you've got account security.
And
You
then
know,
but then, so what I was imagining, right, is that if I go to the repos, I have currently selected my home repo, my actor repo.
hmm
Then I would go to the naps, and I would see that. Oh, yeah, fuck. Yeah, I would see that the Ethereum wallet nap was pre-installed and couldn't be uninstalled from my
yeah,
home repo, right?
No,
Yeah,
that's absolutely fine.
yeah. And
So long
so,
as as when I attach an Ethereum wallet, I don't have to do anything other than authenticate with Ethereum in a modal,
mm,
and then whatever happens in the background, I don't care. Um, and then you can go in and see the NAP. You could even go into the repo and have a look at that.
right,
Um, but it's
right,
kind of baked in.
right. So it's baked into the. You want to see it baked into the actor repo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I can have. You're okay if I put an Ethereum nap and a Wise.com nap and a Lloyd's Bank nap in the nap, so that you can use those individual widgets because they'll have richer functionality and display. But I will additionally, under the account thing, I will make a short list of, like, you are connected to
Yeah.
this is the only place where you can go to connect your wallet up,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
connect your Wise account up and all those other things, right?
exactly. And
Okay.
I assume this will be trivial, but if you go into NAPs and you got an Ethereum NAP there, and you go unenable, then model pops up saying something reassuring like
Oh,
your
it'd just
funds
be
are still
gone.
safe.
It'd just be
Uh,
gone. You're just
but
like, man.
what you do, what you might be thinking at that point is, if I uninstall this, is all this cash gonna just disappear somewhere?
Yeah, I think that um, sure that's a valid concern, but for our first version,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
we'll just
yeah,
we'll just I agree with what you say that it should be part of the actor baked into the actor repo, and it's not something you can mess with because the actor repo is something that the platform controls. The platform only lets you interact with it in a limited way. It's not freeform data. All your other repos, you can put anything you like there. You can delete,
yeah.
change, do anything you
Exactly,
like. But
exactly.
this repo is platform managed, and you can leave the platform and take your account with you, um, and move to another hoster, or you can bring your active repo in from another hoster. But if we accept it, we will check it for format, and then when we have accepted it, you won't be able to change it other than what the rules of the platform say. So it's not
Yeah,
something that you interact with it. It's your the middle ground between between the people and the platform. It's
right,
the middle
exactly.
area.
Because if you know what, even if you have an Ethereum wallet, you already trust the fact,
Yeah.
Ethereum.
Actually, you're
You
you're,
don't
you're
want
even
us.
you're even
Sorry.
more right. It does belong in the account setting because that's where we handle your platform balance, where you pay for your compute resources from us, like tokens, NAP consumption, storage, all those things. They all come from this amount, and so it does make sense to put them in there. An additional question is, where would you expect other important things to be connected, like email? Like if I'm like, hook up your Gmail account, would you expect to see that under?
Gmail is more soft than Cache.
So you could imagine making a new repo for that.
Yeah, because I might have many Gmail accounts. I might want to have a burner Gmail account and so on. It doesn't have the same,
Right.
sphincter control as Cache
As
does.
money, yeah. Also, like we don't need your Gmail account for you to be able to consume our compute resources, but we definitely need you to have money or assets that we value too,
Yeah,
and then that we can trade with. Um, yeah, okay.
yeah.
And then where would
And
I put the history of your usage of the platform? That's
yeah,
under account too, right?
kind of pause that one. Just asking a question. Behind the scenes, the it's still a repo.
Yeah.
Um, how do we avoid someone really fucking up? Like, say if their repo is on GitHub and they go on and delete their account folder, which they could do off platform.
They can do that, but we won't accept it back. Like the push and the pull for your home account, um you can push to GitHub, but you can't pull in any changes, I think.
Okay.
Like I mean, we might allow that later with some conditions, like if it's one of the system folders like wallet, usage, things like that, then we're like, if you try to pull in some commits that alter that, you can't do that. But if you want to pull in commits that have some files you were trying to upload for whatever reason, that's fine. If you wanted to blank your chats, that's fine, I think.
Yeah.
But
It does feel like you know, so it's like a bin um folder. Like you
at
really
the
don't.
start, at
I
the
don't want to be messing with it.
yeah, at the start I was like, well, I'll make it so you can export it, but I'll just block the you can't pull anything into it. It's you can the only way that it can be modified is by using approved naps that act in approved ways on the platform, and then we'll create stux that add extra features to expand that as people want. But that's pretty much the
Yeah,
gist of it.
yeah, because eventually we want to be able to allow barter. I'll give you 2 pigs for a cow or whatever.
Well,
Um,
that
and
can still happen here.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But that's down the road.
Mm. I think
Um,
I really do like this notion of the stuck loop being used to build out the platform itself. I think that's a critical thing because as the AIs get better, and more people get good at commanding the AIs, you're gonna basically get every single feature you ever wanted is gonna be built, or there'll be a clear explanation why it conflicts with some other features that you want more. And
yeah,
only in a stuck loop world will that happen. That will never happen in a traditional commercial model for software because it's just not incentivized to close every bug or solve every stuck. It's just not. That's not good
no,
business.
I absolutely agree. Which is why um, I think the pathway we're thinking about is getting this UI up to something that people kind of recognize,
Yeah,
but then allowing the stuck loop to go wherever
take it
it
wherever they
wants to.
want. Yeah. So I got a good plan in mind for how to present applications like the trucking CRM, where those users don't really want to see this interface. They
Mhm.
want to see an interface that's dedicated to them.
That was on my list actually. Yeah, I totally agree.
So the design I have, I wanted to run past Ben to make sure it sort of fits everything, but it was for the general goal, I think, is that see how I've made this example weather widget. It looks innocuous and harmless, but if it's not isolated correctly, it's running JavaScript code in the
Hmm.
client side environment, and this widget could be hostile because there should be millions of widgets eventually, and they might be hostile. And so it's critical to adopt a pattern that no matter what the widget code is doing, it doesn't break anything or steal your money or corrupt anything.
Sure. Yeah.
And so the model I came up with was that the widgets would be uh, a published index.html, because, like, for example, if I can just show you under the hood of this particular app, the UI app, when I build it for the version you see, I go npm run build, and then what that produces is it makes a dist folder,
Hmm.
which will appear any second now.
It's working its wee heart out there.
It should be doing more than that. This is a beast of a machine I'm on. It's like a
Give
128
it a
core.
break. I mean, that's
This is a 128 core AMD EPIC.
yeah. I mean, chill. It's doing its best. It's
Right.
doing
So
pretty
this
well.
is this is what it produces, right? And the key I want to point out here is it produces an index HTML, and then it simply loads the JavaScript and the CSS that it compiled. And so what I can do is I can serve these assets. These assets just go into Git. I just stamp them on the file system, and then that widget just gets rendered in an iframe. Because I
Yeah.
know people mock iframes, but I love iframes. They represent something magic. And
Yes. Yes.
if so, all you don't have to use React, you don't even have to use JavaScript. So long as you publish an index.html and the supporting files, we can load you in this frame as a widget. And then I investigated the safety of the sandbox around there. I can give you the artifact API. So if you code your widget with the artifact API, then in this browser window, I can give you the artifact API that passes messages back and forwards into this privilege context, the logged in context that has a wallet and all that. So you get all that information, but it's strongly policed and it's untrusted code that we don't need to worry about because it's in the iframe sandbox. But even better, like for example, in the trucking CRM, it's basically made as a collection of widgets. But I can also make a very standard wrapper that is the same mechanics as what this UI you see is, but it doesn't display anything. It just like full screens the iframe. And so
Yes.
you come in, and if you're not logged in, it asks you to log in with Privy. Once you're logged in, it's already hard coded against the repo. It's already knows to be connected to that instance of that repo. And then all you see as the end user is the widget. Now, I can still look at it from my power user view as widgets in the state board, but the staff at the trucking company would just see this CRM that looks like that's all it does.
Yes. Very, very yes. Power users are always going to, if you, actually, this is a glass cockpit, say, and expert users will have their own preferences. I want this here, I want
Yeah.
that there.
Well, they should be
So
able to make their own version of this as well, something that
Right,
suits them better, and they
right,
might introduce features that we like.
and that was one of the genius moves by Johnny Ives. Um, and not many people use it. I use it a lot, but effectively it's a glass screen that you can organize if you're a power user. But if you're not a power user, you've got your basic stuff. But there's what that avoids is hunting and pecking for the information that you want.
Right. Right, because this is a confusing interface if you think you've turned up to just use your company's CRM.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? What's Ethereum?
Just give me a default, and then when I get more expert at it,
Yeah.
I might want to mess around with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that's how I'd see the presentation of widgets going,
I agree.
which is sort of I thought it was nice in a way.
Yeah. Glass cockpit or glass screen.
Yeah.
Mirror, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and then ideally we want to be able to make widgets on this platform, because one of the things that Cursor and Windsurf and them don't really do is they still don't be the whole dev environment. Whereas like it should be that I could command 100 Docker containers from this interface. I should be able to, have like 50 different branches of improvement going on that the bots are just toiling away on. They're running their unit tests in these isolated sandboxes. They're making tweaks and comparing notes with each other. And then they all coalesce back into one single pull request for me. And they're like, here you go, boss, I've done it. And you're like,
beautiful.
Cool. $5 worth of tokens later, that's cool. But that's kind of my point, is that the computing resource also needs to be, you should be able to do absolutely everything in this interface, from building a new widget, building a new web app, compiling artifact publishing artifact to fly.io from here. Like, I don't know why you'd ever leave. Like,
Well, I agree, and uh, I'll switch it on its head. Um, why would we ever restrict when we're looking for stocks to tell us the way?
Stux's light the way, right? And like
So
token burn lights the way. Like, if
yeah,
something's burning a lot of tokens, that indicates, first of all, that people care about it, but second of all, that the LLM might not be so great at it. So we should solve that.
right. And we've got a way to solve that on platform. And so if you care to burn your own, you know, mental tokens, you can get it exactly as you want it. Um, and if you don't have the skill, then they're just stuck. Someone else can solve it for you, and there
Hmm.
it is.
Hmm. And so
So
the other,
yes,
the other, what seems like a very simple addition is I can make us a sort of a universal web page front end
right.
where if you so configured it using the naps, I can make a web address like, say, dreamcatcher.dev, where you can configure it so that a subdomain will render a widget from one of your repos and
Mm-hmm.
may do some uh, some NAP based actions. So, for example, I could set up a an API gateway sort of thing, and so when a webhook fired, like a notification webhook or something came in, like from Slack or from Signal, if a webhook fired, it would hit this API gateway. It'd know from the name which repo it belonged to, and then it would
Mm-hmm.
convert that web based action into an artifact action, and then also deal with the response coming back so that you could basically respond or integrate with these external services without us doing anything. Or we just provide the ability to relay or translate in any way you like, and then you can either take web calls in, or you can publish a web page like that index.html that represents a widget. You could make that appear at this address, and you manage it all from inside the repo world here. And when you make any little change, it changes it for the web page viewer. But that's sort of, that's off, that's almost complete control. That's kind of like like, because this thing's running on fly.io, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the subdomain's fly.dev, but we would have the same thing for um, for our stuff. But that's how you get from repo to published page. It's like it's
Yeah,
no effort.
yeah. It's and also if we understand that right, so you could have subdomains, wife's birthday, work, uh, exercise, or whatever, but they could all be referencing the same underlying repos,
Yep,
maybe different parts of the repos,
yep, yep,
with different widgets.
yep.
It's like wife's birthday. What am I going to get? What did you get last year? What do I need to do with work? That's getting in WhatsApps. That's getting in emails. What I'm doing for exercise. When was the last time you stood up or whatever? Um, Different APIs from whatever gadget you've got on your wrist.
Oh, right, like
Um,
your Apple Watch or your
yeah,
Fitbit or something like that, and then those services are doing their API integrations, and so without you having to do much work at all, and preferably someone's already made the Fitbit API nap, and you just install it on one of your repos and then give it a DNS name, and then now your Fitbit data just streams straight into blockchain land,
yeah,
right?
and
That's
the
what you're getting at.
benefit, yeah, the benefit of that is they're not siloed because your work um, uh, screen may have a widget that says, you've got a widget that says, I work best if I take an air break. every 50 minutes.
Right.
Um, that information is also interesting to your exercise. It's like, well, you've sat in your arse
Oh,
for
right.
6 hours.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the thing that I'm still a little fuzzy on, but that's what I think agents are supposed to do. Like, if you set up a health coach agent, it doesn't make sense to just only let it see your emails. It should be able to see your Fitbit data,
Well,
you know?
yeah, exactly. So the thing that does my head in about it's still one of the best UIs seen on smartphones, but they're all siloed.
Yeah.
They never talk to each other.
Nah, and it's rude.
Yeah,
But you, the agent of the phone, you can talk across them because you
yeah,
can go
yeah. I don't want to go into
right. No,
weather
no.
and
But what
then
I'm saying is
run
that
that sort of thing.
that's I'm looking for reinforcement as to our agent model being the same as you is
Yes,
right, and that's the thing that's
yeah.
supposed to be agentic, I think.
That's precisely it.
Because you
Um,
want the nap siloed. There's a mountain of reasons why you need to silo the naps and why making them talk to each other is not economically incentivized because it's not worth the effort to make them all talk to everyone else. But an agent that can consume it the same way you can consume it, and maybe a little bit more efficiently using API calls, an agent can do that, be the
right.
connection.
Exactly, and that's what we're talking about on the left-hand side. Agent is effectively you.
Yeah. So
Um,
where would you expect to see your list of agents? Tell me how I would browse my list of agents on this screen.
can I just stack up because my RAM's getting close
Okay.
here. Because
Okay.
about 14 minutes ago you asked about where to have history. Um,
History.
yeah.
No, I didn't.
Um, History in terms of we were talking about Ethereum wallets, Wise,
I was
and
asking
so
where to
on.
put email.
Um, was it email? No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. We were talking about. Okay, right. So if that's no longer a question, that's fine. Sorry. Restate the current question. I took a note here to bring it back up because I said can we park that for a second? I've got a question.
Okay. Um, where would you see agents?
Um, hmm.
If an agent is supposed to be the exact same as you, i.e., it is an actor repo, then I imagine you would see the actor as one of these repos, but just flagged specially. Like that's an agent. That's an agent. That's just a normal repo. That's an
Well,
agent.
that's a really interesting question. Um,
That's the
this
interesting question, right? Is like, how do agents work and how do you look at them and where do you list them? How do you make one? How do you kill one? How do you limit one? How do you have several of them? You know,
well
these are the good questions.
one of the interesting things in ChatGPT at the moment is the this is temporary, so don't incorporate anything of this into my history. However, I don't
Yeah,
always click that,
right.
and what that means is it gets polluted. If I forget to click it, it gets polluted. Um, so I think there is a place for having on this left-hand side your virtual you, having multiple virtual yous. It's like now I want to.
Wait, no, you mean you want to be are you talking about the 3D RBAX thing where it's like I want to act as Maxwell work. This is now Maxwell fun time, and this is now
Yeah,
Maxwell dubious research.
yeah, and also want to say, okay, Maxwell Fun Time. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
Yeah, so
I'm
that's
gonna
but
delete you.
that's different to agents. That's you making actor or personas for yourself. And so yeah.
Personas is a good answer.
So
Yeah.
let me check then with you. The repo structure would be exactly the same as the actor repo structure,
Hmm.
and it would have the same restrictions that any actor repo has, which is to say that the platform controls it. You can't do whatever you like in there. It's brokered by the platform.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. If that's the case, then we can make a persona type. So you can come in and you got your repos, which are just we'll call those the actual repos. And then you've got your personas, which are active repos that you sort of sudo into. So the same as you can like sudo in
Mm.
as a different user in the Linux shell or the POSIX shell.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
You're sudoing in, and you're like, I can exit back out and get back to my root user, or I
Yeah.
can make those pseudo users can make pseudo users and all that, and the funds can all trickle up, or they can have their own money. You can do whatever you want. It's like we don't care if you make a million different identities on our platform. We really don't. And
Yeah.
you're welcome to do that, and we'll make you tools that help you manage all that. Whatever you want to
And
do, you've got a good reason for it. As long as you pay the bills, that's fine.
exactly. And the reason sudo exists is because nobody likes to walk a tightrope without a net, or
Yeah,
sometimes they do want to walk a tightrope without a net.
right.
You know.
Oh, so would
Um.
you envisage then that you sort of signed in, and once you became a suitable power user, you're like, okay, I understand how the Dreamcatcher works. I'm gonna now make this whole other personality, and I'm gonna switch between them when I do different tasks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because what that does is reduces anxiety of a fuck up.
like a reputational loss if I screw something
Mm.
up in one thing. So if I'm doing work with Tifu, I might have 3 different personas because I don't want to be targeted as an important guy. So now I split my importance between 3 personas, which is now 30 odd percent, and that makes me less of a target, sort of
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah, and your analogy is absolutely right. You know, you can make as many accounts on your laptop as you want. If you go into sudo, it's like, right, I better pay attention here.
Yeah,
And then you come back out, and it's like, I can't mess up that much. You can even get Docker containers where you really can't fuck up that much.
yeah,
Well, you can fuck up the Docker container, but you can't
right.
mess up the rest of
Yeah.
your system.
Yeah, containment, right? Containment is
Yeah.
what it's all about. And I think that agents with containment, where the containment is very forgiving, is the most productive way for them to work. Okay, so once more from the top then,
Mm.
there's your root or default or origin actor.
Mhm.
Then you can have regular repos or data repos, which the platform doesn't control in any way other than the integrity of the hashes and
Mhm.
the fact that it's commits with a file system in it.
Yep.
You can push and pull to GitHub, no problem, or to any other Git-based source, no
And
problem.
you can go off to that Git base source and
Yep.
mess around with it off
Yep.
platform.
Yeah, and you can install naps to your heart's content. You can give the naps permissions. You can install the naps to oversee a particular folder. So like you can guarantee the integrity of that folder because you have set that no commit can change that folder unless it was done by this nap. So you maintain, like for the CRM, for example, the customer list folder can only be changed by that nap, nothing else.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Then you've got this list of personas, which is actor accounts, where the actor account is a special collaboration between you and the platform. You don't have arbitrary control over it. It is always executed by the platform in accordance with the protocol rules.
Mhm.
You can become one of those actors, in which case to the rest of the world you look like any other actor,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that is your facade or your persona.
Yeah.
And then the third type is agents. And so agents are actor repos where an LLM is um, doing what the human would do in a regular actor account. And so it looks and feels exactly like and is indistinguishable from a regular actor, except there's no human driving. It's a bot driving.
Yes.
Okay.
And an actor, I'd say, doesn't have personas. It's unitary.
You mean an
Is
agent?
Yeah. So
And
yeah.
no,
Sorry, an agent.
I disagree. An agent can have personas.
Yeah. Okay. So
Why
that's
an agent should have no permission restrictions, no capability restrictions on it, other than the ones that each individual uh, owner puts on it.
yeah. Okay.
So the only thing that
Okay.
an agent can't do is similar to what the only thing a persona can't do, which is override the root. Like you can't override the parent if you have a parent. Now, an agent could be severed from all parents, in which case it becomes a free agent. Um,
Yep.
it can have personas. It can do anything it likes. There is no restriction so long as you
I
pay the
see. I
bills.
quite like that. I didn't think about that. I quite like that.
It's coming together, right? Like that's a very simple, clean way to do it,
Hmm.
and it's all powerful.
Yeah. I do like that. So you could have a free agent,
Yep.
and then uh, inside of that you could have a persona. In the same way as the infinite number of personnel outside the door, and you call one in, and you start talking about, your lunch as opposed to your accounts.
Yeah.
Uh, ah,
And
yeah,
then
that's neat. That's neat. That's really neat.
when you as a say I'm a person and I make an agent and I want to analyze what the agent's been up to, I would browse it the same way that I would browse its chats folder and I would see all the chats that it had, and
Doesn't it?
I would
Uh,
debug it the same way I debug my own behavior.
right. Now, with a free agent being equal to a monkey brain uh, with different personas, you can switch as a human. You can switch personas. It's like now I'm in work mode. I want to do work, and then you inherit all the context from that and the thread from that. A free agent then should be able to do the same. So you get you can have a generalist free agent, and then ask it, a travel agent, and you say, "Hey, travel agents, free agents, I want to go to Argentina," and then it goes to the persona that knows all about what you're saying, context wise, or has the context about Argentina. Like, actually, let's talk about Indonesia.
Oh, so you're talking about using the persona mechanism as a way of having like an agent in control of a number of other agents, where
Yeah.
what's happening is that each persona is specialized with a particular tuning towards something that the orchestrator can direct
Yeah, yeah.
queries to,
So
right?
it's sort of agentic, but the thing with agentic is they only have the root. They're all just root agents. But with what we're talking about, personas inside of agents, um, you can talk to the same agent, and the agent knows what the personas are and can choose one of those personas and
Right.
then switch into that persona.
Yeah, right. Yep, I agree with that. Which begs the sort of the biggest question for me is I added in this messaging piece. And so here's like an example of where it was an email came in. Again, an email. This was a WhatsApp message. This was a
Mm-hmm.
status report from some other repo, some other NAP. This came
Mm-hmm.
from the system. And I guess my question is, like, where, how do I talk to my agents using this messaging system? Because I don't want to.
It's a gnarly one.
And what do the messages look like, and are we really just talking about making a range of widgets that present message flows like a workflow diagram? If you want to analyze how a bunch of agents are working, and you just see lines that indicate message passing, and then you can trace each message or summarize the kinds of messages that are moving between them.
Mm. Mm.
That's really the final question, I think, the message
Mm.
passing.
Yeah, but also you'd want to respond to messages, and therefore it would need to know the route that it came in, because that's the route that should go out. You don't want to be switching around apps. But what are you talking to?
What?
Are you not just talking to your messaging persona at that point?
Well, if I want to talk to an agent directly, I could open up a new chat with them, and then that would open up in the state board, it would open up a session with that agent. But those messages should, I believe, be part of my messaging app, because I think messaging is a core part of the actor repo. Like it's almost like all messaging needs to be standardized so that it's addressed anywhere you like, but it all sits in one spot, because
Yeah.
otherwise, like, what
Because what's the point? Yeah.
yeah, like, you can't, I
Yeah.
can't, as an actor, messaging seems crucial, and the thing that pains me is I'm not sure why, but I'm ready to die over it. I'm not sure why messaging has to be central, but it's just pure instinct, because it's like the actor model of concurrency. That is the actor model, is that you have this one massive inbox where all the messages from all the other actors come in,
Right.
and then you
Right.
send your messages out. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like the messaging must be a central pile in the actor repo, or else
I,
what is it?
yeah, and I absolutely agree. At the moment, I don't know. I've got half a dozen Gmail accounts, um, WhatsApp, Signal, messages, all that kind of thing, and I'm having to hunt and peck. But there's no way of just asking the very simple question. What should I care about? What do I do today across all these different channels? So it needs to be in a place that uh, an agent or a persona, maybe this is one of these root things because it is so fundamental. Maybe this is just the default, a bit like accounts.
I don't think I think it's so fundamental that it's like, we're not going to let you do it any other way. It's like every repo, if a repo is going to do execution, that is to say, it's going to accept a request and then respond or send out some other requests, and it's not just going to be a payload layer that accepts commits and provides information when you read. It must have a single inbox per repo, because that means that all your NAP, whenever I click go on a NAP, in another repo, what that should mean is that in my outbox, there's a message that's addressed to that repo with this action to take that's going to trigger the NAP. It goes in, and then in that repo, that's seen in the inbox. It begins processing. The reply comes from the outbox, and then it arrives back in your inbox. It has to be that way. I'm so sure of it, but my explanation is like,
No, hold on a second. Pause. I think you're right. But why do I think you're right?
that's the thing, right? Because if I'm not right, then you're saying that it's okay to have message passing be happening all throughout the system with no oversight.
Ah, that's it, isn't it? Because ultimately, although we're saying humans are the same as free agents and so on, they're not actually, because the humans are the interface to the real world, and the stuff that you're doing is what you want to do. You can't have things like circular messaging going round, which you'd get, or there'd be a risk of, a bit like a packet storm on a network.
That's a packet storm's a legitimate way to go. We don't get packet storms because you run out of money. If you want to set up a packet storm, be our guest, please. But please load your credit card before you start.
Yeah, but it'd be an unfortunate surprise. But having one place where all your messages go is like a telephone exchange, isn't it? It's
Well,
right.
it's almost like a single packet log, or it's like doing a Wireshark trace on the network port. For all the fancy business that goes on in an OS and a server and whatever, you can still trace the packets in a single linear sequence. Like, that's just what it all comes down to. And then
Right.
you can filter them out. You're like, I only want to see repos that are related to this thing, messages related to this or that or whatever. But it's all just one stack.
Exactly, but as you can do in Wireshark, you can filter out saying I'm
Yeah,
only interested in, I
yeah,
don't know, UDP or
yeah.
TCP or whatever.
Yeah, which I guess this actually highlights one of the big missing pieces that I haven't put in the back end, which was chain joining. Now, as you may recall, a lot of time and effort has been spent on chain joining, so I would dare to claim that I understand the topic thoroughly enough that I
I
wouldn't.
think you're the only one who does actually.
But I'm like, I have sweated for that for so long that I feel like I grasp it enough that I can say that, first of all, it's computationally and storage wise feasible to stack up all the messages in one spot. But second of all, that makes it easy to transport between repos in a decentralized environment, because you get this like stack of messages that are due for that repo. You just, you move them in these lumps.
Yeah, but you don't duplicate them.
No, they're never duplicated because the hash,
Right.
the object hash is used to. So if, for example, you're all sitting on the same backing storage, the backing storage is loving it because it's like, oh, there's the same message. I got it already. I don't need to write it to disk.
Right, right. So the implications. So if I was in work mode, and I set up a meeting that happened to be the time I also said to my wife I was having a birthday party for her, it has access to that. It's just going to burn more tokens to find it.
Can you say that again, please?
Yeah, so I'm in one work silo, and I create a meeting that happens to be exactly the time that in a WhatsApp message with my wife saying you make sure you're free for 7 p.m. tomorrow because it's my birthday, um, then if I want to burn enough tokens, even though it's in a separate message silo, then it still has access to that. And you can say, well, yes, you could make that meeting, but you're going to fuck up over here. A bit like deep research. So
Right. Yeah.
deep research for messages. It's like,
But the thing is that I think I need to make a distinction between artifact messages and like Gmail messages, because Gmail or WhatsApp messages, I would expect them to be stored in a folder on disk in a format so that they're sort of permanently and always there. Whereas messages are about the actions you're taking across the platform. They don't represent, like, if a WhatsApp message arrived, then yes, you would see it in your active message inbox, because you'd get a message from the WhatsApp service repo that it's like, hey, I just received an update from the real WhatsApp server and here's the new messages. But then that message would come into your inbox and be processed by the WhatsApp message app, NAP, which would then write it to disk in the appropriate folder. And so, and at that point, the messages are for WhatsApp. They're in a folder on the disk, and if you wanted an agent to process them or react to them, they're better off reading it from there rather than trying to parse the interaction inbox or the NAP inbox.
Yep, I agree with all that. But you're talking about internal message passing.
Yeah, that's what I think. What I think the messaging thing needs to be. It's like, this should actually be all of the system messages, and I can just put a filter on it for you to view them a different way.
Because otherwise, you're not going to be able to see why. You know, it's like you got a whole bunch of agents chatting away, some free agents, some your own, and then you get a response. So if there is some way of crawling that, you can get an idea about, okay, so a bit like you get at the moment with ChatGPT down the right-hand side. It's like, I considered this, considered that, considered this, considered
that. No, I think even that's not quite right. Like, maybe I need to think about it more, but there's definitely two types of messaging. There's the messaging that you and I experience when we do WhatsApp or Gmail, but under the hood, all those apps are sending TCP packets.
Yeah, and it's the equivalent of, if I were to WhatsApp you now, and was running Wireshark, you could actually recreate. Well, it's encrypted, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could recreate that.
You could replay it. You could step through it and you see it. And that's the kind of messaging that I'm struggling with. Like, that definitely needs to be in one place. And it should be surfaceable, but I'm just like, maybe it's not. Maybe it belongs down in this level here, because it's system level data, just like settings is system level data.
It's like slash level, isn't it?
It's it's like, okay, I want to look at the files, I want to look at the NAPs that are installed, and then I want to look at the protocol messages or something like that.
Yeah.
But then messaging up here, what does that become? Is that like human level messaging? Like, hey, the agent that you sent on the wild goose chase is back. It found some geese. Like, that kind of message. What is that?
Well, that's a result. As in, you could ask, go find me some geese, and there's a whole bunch of agents and free agents working away, and they come back and saying, hey, there's goose over there. And what at that mode, all you're interested in is like, have you found a goose?
Right.
Right.
But
That's what we
if
want.
I was an agent, an automated agent, I would expect that I can receive. Um,
Well, it's the same
that's how
thing.
the messages come to me, right? Like the agent can
Yeah,
only be spoken to by the
but
inbox.
it's this. It's isn't it the same thing? So, um, your messages are the result of you either receiving something unbidden or asking a question and receiving an answer. Um, and that seems to be exactly the same, regardless of where you are in the hierarchy. So a whole bunch of agents talk to each other, but you go right down to the agent that knows what a goose looks like, um, and is asked by the geese finder. Okay, this analogy is getting
Yeah.
difficult,
All right. Let
but
me try another angle because the thing I'm struggling with is like the WhatsApp nap isn't the messaging app. And so here's an idea for it then. If you set up the WhatsApp nap um, has its own widget where it's basically WhatsApp web and you can send messages and see new ones in there. That's you using WhatsApp as a widget. You can then create an agent of yours that you say, hey, your only purpose in life is to watch my WhatsApp messages, and anytime you see a message from my, you know, someone, I want you to check or do a rough estimate on how much it will cost me in terms of time and money, whatever they're asking me, and then tell me about it in the message, send me a message about it. So what will happen there is that the WhatsApp system will run away in the background. There will be system messages coming in and going out and doing all that. But each time a new one comes in, the agent you made is triggered and it may decide to send you an agentic message. And so I think these messages are agent messages only, and they can be representative of an email or a WhatsApp. You could just say every time a new WhatsApp message comes in, copy it straight to my agentic inbox. Go. That's fine. But you could also say, only tell me when you think something's really important in WhatsApp. And so your agentic message box will largely be empty while WhatsApp is streaming away. But then every so often something will pop in there and it's like, hey, important.
yeah.
So that's the
Oh,
agentic inbox.
uh, so can you give me 30 seconds? I've just
Sure.
got to knock at the door here.
Okay.
Hold on. Hey, back.
Hey.
Um, it seems to me that there's similarities between linking up what we were talking about at the start with accounts as linking up messages. Because as the end user and as an agent, I don't really care whether you call me up on a landline or a cell phone or WhatsApp me or email me. It's the information that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I think that it's the agentic inbox. That's really what
Yeah.
it is. And it's
Um,
how you talk to other agents and how other agents talk to you.
yeah.
And
And
a NAP can trigger it, right? Like a NAP could send an agentic message out, and then that'll cause the agent to do something.
right, because fundamentally, when you're in a thread, um, that is the same as a message. You're sending a message and you're getting a message back.
It could be viewed as a thread, but it also might. Fuck. Okay, so how does. If I am an AI agent, this chat that I'm having, which we'd sort of said was like the back chat or the private chat or the something like that,
Mhm.
when would I ever have those? Like, would it be that an agentic message arrives and then we configure it to start a new internal chat, and then the agent starts reasoning with the other AIs that it has access to, and it starts doing tasks by driving this chat forwards in order to concoct a reply to this agentic message?
Well, it seems to me, let's take the an email. An email you might want to take some action on or just read. Um, and the third one is remember, to be able to search back. There seems to be those three things. So when a message comes in to an agent, it's like, do I need to do anything here? Or
Yeah,
do I just need to remember it in case, I need to know and search back in
right,
context later on?
right.
Um, so the messages, yeah, if you just store them up and each message comes in, yeah, kind of sub message agent for each agent goes, do you need to do anything? Is it asking you to do anything, or is it just saying hello? Um, and if you don't need to do anything, then great, just remember it. So you can go back and search saying, well, when does this last agent say hello to me? If you just had ping, you go, do I need to go Pong? No, I'm not going to Pong. See what I'm saying? There seems to be
No,
if
not
you
really.
if you well, what I'm trying to do is obfuscate the channel. It doesn't matter if I get messages from WhatsApp, phone, text, uh, because I'm making the same decision. It's like, get it in, read it. Do I need to do anything about it? Yes, no. Okay, if I need to do something about it, then I'll do that, and
Right,
then make
but
the
that
message back.
so that would be modeled in for a human. That would be modeled by having like a communications manager agent that could see your Gmail, Signal, WhatsApp, Slack, and whatever else, and it would look at all those new messages and decide if you need an agentic message to talk about to do something because it's trying to tell you
Right,
something, right?
right. So
Right.
you don't care about the channel. You care
No,
about
but what
whether.
I'm asking you is like, okay, I'm an agent and a new message comes in. It could have come in from a NAP where the NAP was configured to push to the agentic inbox. Does it? I think it triggers a chat if you're in agent mode because a chat is the only way you can think about anything. And so a new message comes into your agentic inbox, which fires up a new chat. then you have to respond to it with something which may be like, okay, let's forget about that, or shit, I better do something, or the things that you listed there, which would result in a reply to that message. And then when a similar message came that was part of the same thread, it would just fire up that same chat again. And so the context of that particular thread that's going on with another agent would call up the same chat,
Yeah.
right?
That'd be like the primary use. There's a secondary use, which is say if you've got an agent's got 3, 4 of these topic threads going on. It might want to also be able to interrogate all 3 or 4 of those threads.
Yeah, but it can it can easily do that.
Yeah, but the primary thing is, yeah, stick it in a bucket and decide whether you need to do something about it or ignore it.
Well,
Well, not
no,
ignore
no,
it, but
no. The
remember.
primary thing is it lands in the inbox and then a new chat is started as a result of it, or an
Yep.
old chat is continued with the insertion of that message.
Yeah, that's what I mean by stick in a bucket, as in stick it in a silo. It's like,
Can you just
okay,
hold?
that.
Can you just hang on a second?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna go. I can hear crying. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries.